So Sam and I were partners in this project, and our team name is Philosopals, and we covered the article "Letting the Deaf Be Deaf: Reconsidering the Use of Cochlear Implants in Pre-Linguistically Deaf Children" by Robert A. Crouch.
Okay, so we wanted to start with some background on cochlear implants, and cochlear implants are devices that enable partial hearing, and we added this video just for some more context.
A cochlear implant is a device that we can use to restore hearing. It's got two parts. One part is implanted into the inner ear, and then an outer part, which communicates with the inner part, takes sound and transfers it into electrical impulses. It allows us to bypass the damaged inner ear and stimulate the nerve to recreate hearing. A cochlear implant.
Okay. And some criteria for surgery, the child has to be older than 2 years old, has to have a profound hearing loss greater than 90 decibels, previous use of conventional hearing aids with no benefit, and the child and family must show high motivation for the surgery. And they also have to have no medical, financial, or psychosocial strain. So something that we thought of during this was, is this criteria too specific? For example, are financial strains holding people back from getting this surgery? And could that just hold more people back from the potential use of a cochlear implant?
So two main arguments that Crouch brings up against cochlear implants are one, that cochlear implants often fail to achieve their objective, which is really just to enable a child to not just hear sound, but to perceive speech, and as well as producing their own English speech fluently. And second, even if these technological limitations are overcome, a decision to forego cochlear implants for one's child must be understood as conferring a tremendous advantage to the mainstream hearing society, which overlooks the entire deaf community, which is a rich history filled with rich language and a value system of its own.
We tried to put this argument, or Crouch's argument, into standard form. So first, if the implant using child perceives sound and speech, the same child has to produce intelligible speech themselves, and the child has to acquire an oral language, and he defines an oral language as hearing and understanding speech and responding with grammatically correct speech. Then Crouch can conclude that the child is a fully functioning member of the hearing society. However, a study has shown that even after having a cochlear implant for 5 years, the speech intelligibility was 40%, which is not very high. So this suggests that deaf children with cochlear implants do not improve significantly after implantation. So that is why Crouch is against cochlear implants. Something that Crouch said, which was very profound, was that deafness is not a disability. And he makes it clear that he wants to focus in this article only on prelingually deaf children. So that is children who are born deaf or deemed deaf before an acquisition of oral language has taken place. And this argument would look completely different for postlingually deaf adults or adolescents, which he is not trying to argue about in his article.
So in terms of relating what we've learned in class to this article, the biggest topic that comes up that we discussed was patient autonomy, and patient autonomy is defined as the capacity for self-governance or self-determination. So in this research experiment, the prelingually deaf children in this research did not give their consent to be a part of this experiment. It was basically chosen for them from birth. And we talked about some possible consequences that could derive from this, which are future resentment towards parents, denying prelingually deaf children from immersing themselves immediately in ASL, which would put them between two cultures and within neither of them. And lastly, it would place a prelingually deaf child in an oral language environment with a faulty auditory system, which disadvantages them in a couple of ways. One being they fail to acquire fluent oral language, and also more harmfully, it delays them from their ASL capabilities. And two possible objections to Crouch's argument that we thought of was one, that although cochlear implants may not be useful for prelingually deaf children, it could be useful for postlingually deaf children, because for them it would be relearning speech rather than learning it for the first time. The second objection we thought of was, although the chances for prelingually deaf children to fully grasp speech is very low, there is still a small chance for some to succeed in adapting speech effectively.
Our stance overall, we both agreed with Crouch, and basically we felt that parents should feel that cochlear implants are an option and do not have to feel that they should give their deaf child a cochlear implant and is not a requirement. And Crouch makes it clear that membership of the deaf community could outweigh the poor implant efficiency that occurs, and he talks about this as an opportunity cost. And we found out that non-deaf children know about 5,000 to 26,000 words at age 5, while a deaf child may only know about 200, which is a pretty significant difference. So some may think that this would be an argument in favor of cochlear implants, but it is actually the opposite. It does not speak to educational context, and it is quite insensitive to the history of deaf education. And overall, Crouch makes it clear through this argument that the ethical consequences of implants outweigh the small possible benefits that could come from receiving a cochlear implant. So overall, we do agree with Crouch that cochlear implants should be an option, but they should not necessarily be the biggest benefit that a deaf child could get. And that was
Thank,
all. Thank you.
thank you.